Good morning and welcome to the Lowe's Motor Speedway in Concord, North Carolina, just north of Charlotte. The 25th running of the Sprint All-Star Race is upon us. Don't worry about the weather. It's a little overcast right now. Just a 30% chance of showers here in the Charlotte area. Excited to be bringing you all coverage, all in this weekend. Let's take a look at what is headed your way here today on Speed. Camping World Truck Series practice is directly followed by Sprint Cup practice, NASCAR Live Truck Series qualifying. A little bit later on, Sprint Cup qualifying, the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, 7:30 Eastern at trackside at 10:30. Brad Keselowski and Robbie Gordon. Right now, we go upstairs to Rick Allen and Phil Parsons.
And welcome, everyone, and good morning. It's Lowe's Motor Speedway as we get ready for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series North Carolina Education Lottery 200 practice on Speed. Trucks are on the racetrack, so activity already taking place. We're kicking it off early, and by the way, Michael Waltrip is joining us up here. I know Steve didn't mention the name.
He didn't think he'd be up this early.
He gets a little bit nervous and offended when somebody doesn't say his name, so we want to make sure everyone knows Mike's with us.
I want to feel like part of the team, you know.
You are a part of the team.
I can't be letting Steve run over me like that, and we're all presidential here today. Look at this little flag behind us.
We are. Let's talk a little bit about a big week. Obviously a big week, and it all starts right now for the Truck Series. We're on the track from 9 o'clock right now until almost 11 o'clock tonight when this race gets done.
Well, the thing I like about this practice session right now, Rick, is these guys had to be salivating with the weather. You know, it's exactly like it's going to feel tonight. The track is cool. There's been no sun on it. So the conditions that they're practicing those trucks in right now is what they're going to see tonight. And a lot of times when you practice during the day and race at night, there's a whole lot of unknowns. What am I going to have when it gets darker? Is this track going to get looser? Is it going to get tighter? What's it going to do? These guys are learning everything they want to know right now.
And they haven't been on the racetrack, it seems like, in about a month since our last race at Kansas. So you see Ron Hornaday, a former winner here, he really wants to get on this racetrack. He's had a terrific season so far, has not finished out of the top 10 yet this year.
Let's go down to the garage. Ray Dunlap is covering all the stories.
Well, thank you, Rick. I wanted to add on Ron Hornaday. You know, when we talk about mile-and-a-half speedways, Hornaday really has gotten very, very good at this type of racing. In our last 10 mile-and-a-halves, he has won 3 races, 3 poles, and over 500 laps led. But Hornaday has not been to victory lane yet in 2009, and Rick Wren thinks this is their very best opportunity. Hornaday has always been good here at Lowe's Motor Speedway, and they've got one of his favorite trucks here today. They believe that tonight, the 33 truck will be a big factor. Now let's check in with my buddy, Adam Alexander.
And Ray, if Ron Hornaday doesn't get it done tonight, it may be his teammate who goes to victory lane. And his teammate of choice this evening, Ryan Newman, making his second career start in the Camping World Truck Series. His debut last fall at Atlanta, very successful. Driving for Kevin Harvick Incorporated, he went to victory lane. So he's batting 1,000 in the Truck Series. He's got Ernie Cope on the box, the same guy that crew chief for him last fall at Atlanta. He's driving the same truck. And there has been a change here. John Monson will be the new crew chief when the trucks go to Dover in a couple of weeks. Guys?
Thanks, Adam. We'll keep you up to date on all the different stories that are taking place in the garage and obviously give you all the pictures of the trucks on the racetrack today. Rick Crawford had an interesting ride in between the Kansas and this race. He was able to enjoy a little time with the Blue Angels. We'll get you a little bit more into that story later on today.
Yeah, you'll be able to see exactly what Rick went through on the setup tonight with Chris Kubota. And, you know, we've talked about this weekend ever since Daytona. I mean, in Daytona, we were talking about it. It's 100 days till the All-Star race. Well, All-Star weekend is here. We've got the great kickoff with qualifying tonight. Everything's going to be on speed, and then our race. And then tomorrow night, you know, one of the most fun events in the entire Sprint Cup series.
Oh man, it's an event that I had the pleasure of being able to stand in victory lane with the Wood brothers back in '96. Well, I had to win that showdown a couple of times, 91 and 92, to be able to transfer to the All-Star race. And I remember, Phil, the first time I ever got in the All-Star race, I thought, man, this is center stage. This is what everybody's all about right now. These are the best of the best in NASCAR. And to get out there and race, even be in that race, meant the world to me. And then to be victorious, obviously, especially with the Wood brothers here in Charlotte, that was a great feeling.
That was a great night. I remember that well. And, you know, we've had so many special memories in the All-Star race, and we're creating a lot of special memories for this Truck Series race here as well.
And, you know, one memory, just one thing about the All-Star race. I remember Dale Earnhardt and Dale Jr. in 2000 down there in Victory Lane, hugging and just enjoying that night. And it just seems that this race has a family feel to it. You know, me and my brother have won it. Obviously, Dale and his dad down in Victory Lane, but all the teams and their families come out and watch their vehicles that they worked so hard on race here at Charlotte. It's just a special feel for everybody to be here at this track.
Yeah, most teams are based right here in this area, and an exception would be the truck that's on the track now, Matt Crafton. The Thor Sport Racing team is actually in Ohio, so this is a road trip for them. But for the most part, 95% of the race teams are right here in this area.
And oh, by the way, he won this race last year. Matt Crafton did for his first career win.
Lowe's Motor Speedway is a special place. It's a great track. Look how much room these guys have. You've got all that asphalt there, and they'll fill it up tonight. There'll be guys running low, they'll be running high, so
they'll be arguing over space tonight.
They won't realize there's all that room because they'll be rooting and gouging all up in the middle of those turns.
You see the dotted lines and the lanes through the tri-oval. Nobody's going to follow the lanes as they come through the tri-oval. They'll be fighting for that spot.
Well, this race here last year, Matt Crafton won. He had to basically cut a truck off coming off turn 4, about squeezed him in the wall, but then it still wasn't over. He had guys all over him all the way to the checkered flag. It was just intense from the word go to the checkered flag.
Yeah, we knew we were going to have a first-time winner when they came out of turn 4 because it was Chad McCumbee.
We were reasonably sure there was going to be a first-time winner.
We had Chad McCumbee right on the back bumper of Matt Crafton, and neither of them up to that point had won a race in this series, and it was Matt Crafton who came home victorious. So let's go back to the garage and Ray Dunlap.
Well, guys, just a couple of laps on the racetrack for Rowdy Bush down here in the number 51 truck, and brand new sticker tires going on, but no adjustment to the truck. So my guess is this is a scuffing session for Kyle Busch right now. Brand new tires going on. He's about ready to head back to the track. Kyle has said absolutely nothing on the radio so far.
Getting his tires buffed in, that's a little bit of strategy. Get that done early, right off the bat. You know, I think if your truck's good, it's okay to go ahead and knock that out. You go out and run a couple laps, your splitter's hitting properly or isn't hitting in the turns, and you feel comfortable with your truck, yeah, let's go ahead and scuff those tires, get that over with, then we can move on tuning, fine-tuning our truck. But if you go out there and your truck's not close, you better get it worked on some before you continue scuffing your tires.
Yeah, absolutely, because, you know, qualifying is certainly important, but it's not the most important thing. You got to be able to run 200 miles tonight, obviously as fast as you can, so that's what's key.
Track activities are underway as we're kicking off a huge weekend. Following us at noon will be the Sprint Cup practice, the NASCAR Live in between that practice and our qualifying for tonight's race. The setup kicks off with Chris Devoda at 7:30 for tonight's race. You don't want to miss anything here on Speed. Speed presentation of NASCAR Camping World Truck Series practice on Speed is brought to you by Camping World. Visit Camping World for all your camping needs.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
I have a confession.
Go ahead. This is the forum for it.
I was 12 years old when my brother started racing NASCAR down in the South. And we used to get in the car and drive 1 hour.
From Tennessee?
From Kentucky to Tennessee to sit on the side of the road to listen to the race. That's how much we wanted to hear what was going on, and that's how desperate we were to find information. Fast forward to today. How far has our sport come? Practice started at 9 this morning. Boom, right here on Speed. We're going to be on till 11 tonight on Speed, covering NASCAR action from here in Charlotte. My confession is, I would have skipped school. I wouldn't have went to work. I would have been glued to my TV back in Kentucky, just salivating over all the action and information that can be extracted from what we're doing here today.
On that same line.
Can I make a confession?
If everybody wants to just go ahead, confess.
I did skip school, and I grew up in Detroit, as most people know. My dad and I would get in the car and drive to Toledo, Ohio, 50 miles away, to listen to it on the radio because we did not have a station in Detroit that carried the race.
How much do you feel better now? Yeah. I feel so good that I got
that off your chest.
Hey,
yeah, me too.
Hey,
me too.
I got to confess. Yesterday, I visited Philip O. Berry High School, where the NASCAR Day, the NASCAR Foundation donated money to those kids in that school, and we did a feature on it, which is going to show later this afternoon and this evening. And I have to confess, I told all the kids that they were welcome to skip school and watch TV all day because we were on at 9 this morning.
Well, it's just so big, and people say, what's the biggest difference you've noticed in NASCAR? Well, obviously for me, I was around before, and Phil too, we were around before there was any coverage of the sport, and now you can turn in, watch in HD on Speed, all the news, all the action from all day long at Charlotte. I mean, that's just a wealth of information, and that will help do a couple of things. It'll obviously introduce more fans to our sports, more people that'll come and sit in these grandstands and watch. Also, if you're 7, 8, 10 years old and you want to race, you're going to learn how to race. You're going to watch it on TV, see the lines these guys are taking, listening to the information.
Watch the onboards. Watch the onboards.
You're going to, and Speed is helping to diversify our sport. It's opening the eyes of all different cultures across our country that'll wind up wanting to be one of these drivers in these trucks one day.
Chad McCumbee, one of those drivers on the racetrack, currently 10th quickest in his first practice. Ray Dunlap, who do you think is going to have the pole?
Well, you got to put your money on Mike Skinner if you're smart, Rick. I mean, this guy is an animal when it comes to qualifying. Skinner just came in. He was on the racetrack, said his truck is very, very good in 1 and 2, but a little bit tight in 3 and 4. Now, he's another one of the trucks that is scuffing tires right now. The tires on the right side of these vehicles are the ones that the Cup Series ran in Vegas, but the tires we have on the left side are brand new to competition, never been run before, so these guys want to find out what they've got with them. But I look up and down my side of the garage and just everybody putting on tires, running 3 or 4 laps, getting the new off of them. Adam?
And Colin Brown would fit that same category. They just took off a set that they scuffed in on track. Mike Beam, the crew chief, talking to his driver. And you know what? There are a long list of drivers that have not won in the Truck Series that would be candidates tonight. Of course, Matt Crafton pulled it off a year ago, his first victory coming in this race, and I know Colin Brown would love to scratch that off his list of things to do this evening, and maybe they can. He's currently 3rd quick.
Now, you see these teams putting on the new tires. You might wonder, why are they doing that? The fastest truck in practice so far is Ron Hornaday. He ran his fastest lap on the 5th lap around the track. So therefore, his tires got better and better each lap that he ran, despite the fact that they were getting hot and more air was going into them, maybe not being at the optimum temperature or air pressure range. So what they'll do is they'll come in, they'll figure out how many laps to put on their new tires, so when they put them back on the truck, cooled off with the air pressure where they want them to be, they'll stick the best that they possibly can.
We saw the same thing last week at Darlington for the Sprint Cup Series. 90% of the Sprint Cup cars qualified on scuffed tires, and that's a kind of interesting sponsor right there on Mike Skinner's truck.
Well, if he runs anybody, makes anybody mad, he's covered.
Absolutely. On staff. He's got his own attorneys on staff.
He doesn't have any problem. He's going to be, he'll go for it tonight. You watch him.
I'm covered. Colin Brown about to go back out on the racetrack. Ron Hornaday has set the mark in this first practice, 30.267. On Thursday, Rec returns to Speed. When motorists wreak havoc in the heart of the Windy City, only one company can bring Chicago back to life. This season, get hooked all over again. Rec, life in the crash lane. New season premieres Thursday, only on Speed.
Those buckets look like if they get scared, they'll have some, somewhere to.
No, I don't think so.
That's one job that I would not want to have, actually.
Well, there's a few jobs, and that would make the list.
Well, that reminds you of wrecked. I mean, that just looks like they're close to danger.
Yeah. Well, they're doing a fine job.
Speaking of a fine job, that 7 truck there, that's
David Gilliland.
David, and he's up in the 5th spot, 5th fastest so far. That truck's
Dave,
always.
That was your best lap of 30.65.
See, and that's on his 7th lap. I bet you that's the same old tires, Phil.
Yep. Guarantee you. This racetrack last year was really good for scuffed tires too. So, and I always loved the racetrack that you could run scuffed tires as well as new tires, and that's the kind of surface we have here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Again, just like that, the fairly new surface we had at Darlington last week, which was only the 2nd race on that new surface.
And the reason why you like that is because not only does it feel good as a driver, but then your crew chief, he's got some options. That's what'll happen tonight. These guys will have to look at whether they want to get 4 tires, whether they want to get, maybe they don't get tires at all, so you can mix things up when the race starts.
remember last year I was actually watching on Speed the All-Star race from last year, and that last segment on the All-Star race was 25 laps. Casey Kane and a couple others did not change tires before that last segment, and Casey Kane obviously held on to the win and $1 million by not changing tires. So you talk about options, you've got some pretty serious options.
You almost said forego and it didn't fit, so you changed.
Yeah, I did.
Would that have been 4 went?
I don't know.
Can you say 4 went getting tires?
I don't think so.
Adam Alexander, what's going on in the garage?
Phil, Mikey, how big is momentum in racing for a driver?
Tremendous.
All right, well, that's good for James Busher because he's coming off a victory last weekend in the ARCA REMAX Series at Kentucky. Great finish with Justin Lofton there, and I would say it's carried over here because he's currently 6th in the latest standings when you look at practice here today. And James Busher very happy with his truck. They did have to change helmets because the microphone, when he was talking to the team on track, they were having a hard time hearing him, so they changed out helmets to help communication. Of course, these helmets have a microphone inside them to help communicating with the team. And he's not the only guy that ran well. It's good to have Brian Eichler back in the trucks this week, a top 5 at Kansas a few weeks ago, and he was in the top 5 last week in the ARCA race as well.
You know, Adam, I've really been impressed with James Busher. Other than that incident in Daytona when he was taken out, really was not of his making right at the start-finish line. He's not been out of the top 15 this year. In addition to Taylor Malsom is the same way. He only has 1 finish outside the top 15. So we have some awfully talented rookies. And again, Brian Eichler, who won a Camping World East race at Greenville, South Carolina this year, and really had the best car in the Toyota All-Star Showdown in Irwindale, California in January. Also is in this field, and again, as Adam mentioned, had a top 5 at Kansas, his first ever Camping World Truck Series start.
Isn't that fun? See guys show up. Yeah, you never heard of them. They're 19, 20 years old. They show up and they get right in there and compete. Now we see the opposite happen too. You see guys come in and they just can't get their arms around it. And so, as a driver, knowing how difficult it is to compete in the upper echelon of NASCAR and seeing guys that pull it off, it's fun. You like to see what maybe lies ahead for those guys, how that career will progress, where they will head.
Here's another guy that pretty much has his arms wrapped around this this series. He's 1 for 1 in wins.
Batting 1,000.
Like he's going to pit.
Ryan Newman won in Atlanta a year ago, and now for his 2nd start, he's going to take on Lowe's Motor Speedway. He's slowing down though in the tri-oval.
No, it was Ryan's picture and somebody else's motor.
Gotcha.
So he kept going.
But Ryan slipping into the seat. Ricky Carmichael has been running this truck to start off the 2009 season. Ricky will get a break, and Ryan will take another shot at getting to victory lane in the Camping World Truck Series.
This is another guy, Phil. If you remember, he did a lot of testing with Penske Racing before we ever saw him race anywhere. And then he showed up and he just dominated.
He did the ABC plan. Remember that? He ran some ARCA REMAX races. He ran some Busch Series races as well as some Cup races.
And I remember his first nationwide win was at Michigan, and it was like one of the first few races he ran. And darn, he didn't only win, he
dominated.
Stomped them.
Ray Dunlap.
Give you a little update on the Onion. You see new colors on this Germain Racing number 30 Toyota this week. The good folks from Copart.com are on board, and of course if you go online with them, they have zillions of cars to look at. Now Todd just came back off of the racetrack a moment ago. When he first went out, guys, he said he really had a lot of chatter in the tires, but Mike Hillman Jr. made a change on the ball joint on the right front, and Todd said that completely fixed the problem with this truck. Right now they're going to work on the cow a little bit with a little bit of the air induction into the carburetor to try to see if they can make some modifications there. But brand new colors. Todd Bodine, I don't believe, has ever run an all blue truck, but this week they've got new sponsorship, and that's good news.
You know, Copart has come into the sport, our sport here, in a pretty big way. This is the 2nd different team that they've sponsored in the Camping World Truck Series, as well as I think they were they on Ruderman's nationwide cars somewhere, not just a couple races ago?
One of Todd Braun's cars with David Ruderman driving. So it's good to see people using our sport to try to market their goods and services, and Copart is doing that in a big way, aren't they?
John West Townley on the racetrack now.
JWT, as I like to call it.
Easier to say.
John West running the full nationwide series this year. Ran the ARCA REMAX series last year, finished in the top 10 in points. Ran a handful of Craftsman Truck Series races last year at the time. Now obviously Camping World, our title sponsor.
John West Townley 29th or 21st quickest in this first practice. We've got 34 trucks that have been out on the track. 40 are here to try to qualify for the 36 spots for tonight's race. Again, everything right here on Speed, so stay with us all day for truck coverage. We have made it in just one day. The NASCAR Sprint All-Star Race is only on Speed. NASCAR's biggest names clash for $1 million in cash. And you can only see it on Speed and Speed HD. Tomorrow night, 7 Eastern. NASCAR on Speed. Be there.
Remember,
and be in the race.
Yeah, but we've had it was over 100 days till the All-Star race, and now we're just a day away.
A day away.
Exciting qualifying session tonight. I know you've been a part of that when you've had a live pit stop during your qualifying run.
Yeah, and you know, just hats off to the pit crew guys last night. That was so fun to watch on Speed. The athleticism, the teamwork, the job that those guys do in those competitions with the spotlight shining on them is amazing. Tonight's the same thing. It's all about those guys and what they can pull off on pit road.
Right.
And I just love watching those athletes do their job.
How about the driver on that winning car last night?
That was pretty impressive, wasn't it?
Yeah. But that was Kim Burton, Jeff's wife, that actually steered the car.
We won the media competition on Wednesday, right?
Yeah. Do we want to bring up who drove our car?
Yeah, let's give her a little props. She did a fine job too. I think maybe we might have started something.
Claire B. Lang drove our car, and I was on the A post on the driver's side on the last run. And as I'm going, the wall kept getting closer and closer and closer.
She veered off center a little bit.
She was going to run me into the wall.
We told her, we said, you really can't screw this up. And we're pushing the car down pit road, and I thought, well, maybe she can.
There's a possibility you can screw this up. No, it was fun, and it does give you a new respect for what those guys do.
Oh, and it's so fun to compete. You know, I race cars, so obviously I get that adrenaline rush. But just to be on your feet and try to run as fast as you can to change a tire or push a car, that competition feels good. And I know, you know, we saw some of the athletes that have transitioned from football or basketball
or hockey. A lot of hockey players
onto pit road. They say they get the same rush from the competition that they experience on pit road as they do when they were playing football or hockey. So it's quite a lot of attention needs to be paid to those guys because it's an amazing feat what they pull off in 12 or 13 seconds.
Yeah, and on top of that, we were out there and I was pretending to be a jack man, and I said, boy, this is kind of difficult. Add in a 55-mile-an-hour, pit road where cars are zinging by
42 other cars going by.
Yeah, they didn't have that variable when we were doing our little pit work. So that's it's pretty amazing what these guys do over the wall. Well, I guess we might have a little footage of this.
Speed, and it's on. We're winning this competition right here, right now.
Oh no.
What is okay, this is Ray warming up. Yeah, we're going to give you a little footage of what took place. This was Wednesday afternoon. I missed the post.
That didn't bite my tongue off. There's Brian Vickers. He was
on our team.
Celebrity team member, did a great job changing tires.
And there we are in our glory.
The hardware.
With the trophies.
Tony George there. He was
Tony George and
one of our gas men, and I will tell you, he got our car rolling so fast, when I got to it to push it, I was almost hanging on to it.
I was wondering why we slowed down. That's Chris Koulis down in the front, and he's the drummer for OAR. He was also on our team. He was a tire carrier.
What a great job they did last night, too.
That was awesome.
Terrific concert. Night before last.
Yep.
Plus, when Tony was pushing, he was...
Ray's still stretching.
When Tony was pushed on the back of that car, he was, yelling like he was
on
working.
He was on it.
And I said, I got to run harder.
Hey, Michael.
Hey.
I have never wakeboarded before in my life, but on Wednesday we shot a feature with TJ Bell, so I went wakeboarding, and then I came to do the pit stop competition. And I'm telling you, I've got muscles that I never knew I had between my legs and down my back. I'm getting old. I don't think I can do this
Keith, cue the violins, please.
I can't hang with these guys.
Where's the Chariots of Fire music when you need it?
His head doesn't move. The rest of his body moves, and his head stays completely stationary.
That's good form, I think.
No, his knees weren't moving either. So his head was straight and his knees were staying straight.
That was fun, though. They let us get down there, all the media from the Charlotte area and Speed, obviously, get down there and experience exactly what those real guys were going to go through last night. And it really was eye-opening to me to see how intricate each job and each detail of a pit stop is. makes you certainly appreciate more when one goes off right and understand a little bit when there's a hiccup in one.
Yeah, you know, there's a rhythm that goes with changing tires and a pit stop. And I noticed you guys, you had a little bit of a rhythm going. I mean, normally you hear zing, 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 zing. You guys were kind of
What's he talking about?
I don't know. He sounds like he's sick. Sounds like a mosquito you hit.
Adam, how you doing in the garage?
Boy, I'll tell you, I talked to Butch Hilton, who's the general manager and crew chief for the 7 of David Gilliland, and he said he's seen the video, and for now they're not hiring. So sorry. But anyhow, he's also liking what he's seen. What about David Gilliland back in the Truck Series? Only his 2nd career start for TRG. And they hope this is a part of their plan in the future. If they can run good here tonight, the plan is to put David Gilliland in the truck for the companion events. And they hope some financing comes together this week to make that plan a reality. So we'll wait and see. But right now, David Good, they're making minor changes. He is currently 5th in the practice session.
And after that run, he actually has jumped up a bit to 3rd. So a little better performance for him. Matt Crafton and Johnny Sauter talking strategy to teammates. You see up on the scales, Kyle Busch is number 51. Again, the number everyone's chasing is Hornaday. Welcome back. North Carolina Education Lottery 200 first practice taking place. You see the 15 back on the racetrack.
Ryan Eichler, Samsung Instinct on board that Billy Baloo truck.
Yellow stripe on the back bumper, indicating rookie status for Brian Eichler.
Rookie status that carried him to a 5th place finish in his race out there in Kansas.
Yeah, what a long race that ended up being.
3 days.
3-day race in Kansas.
And we still didn't get it finished.
Amazingly enough, our last 2 races have been run on Monday. Yeah. I mean, Martinsville and Kansas both were delayed until Monday. So
I know that had never happened before in the Truck Series. I remember that happening in the Cup Series. Went back-to-back Mondays. Martinsville and Wilkesboro, I believe it was.
Yeah, back in the 80s, wasn't it, Phil?
Yeah, and the same guy won both races. You
Harry
remember
Gant.
That? No.
Darn it. Terry Labonte.
No. You want me to give it to you?
Just keep picking.
Jeff Bodine.
Jeff Bodine.
You guys worked very well, by the way, as a team in NASCAR Smarts.
Yeah, we dominated that competition.
Yeah, we thrashed them.
Now wait a minute. Dominated?
Well, I think we had like 100.
At the end of the game, how close was it?
That was technicality because the people they polled didn't know what they were talking about.
I think undoubtedly we had a busload of Jeff Gordon fan club members that came to be the studio audience.
Yeah. But it was like, what's the most famous moment in the All-Star race? And they didn't pick the pass in the grass. They picked Jeff Gordon winning in a backup car. And now I read somewhere that it was voted that the most popular thing that's ever happened in the All-Star race was Casey Kane winning from the fan vote.
Last year. Yeah.
That's not as good as passing grass, is it?
Well, I think everybody has their own opinion, and they're allowed to
maybe a lot of us weren't, a lot of people weren't alive then.
Weren't alive when we were here back then?
That, maybe.
Let's go back to the garage and Adam Alexander.
And 2009 off to a good start for Timothy Peters. And 35 minutes into this practice session, how are things going?
They're going good. Right now we're just scuffing our tires, but the strutmasters.com Tundra, we're getting ready to see how good she really is. But, just got to thank Chad Kendrick and all the guys here helping us, and we made it this far. Let's see how long we can go.
The last I heard, you were good through Texas as far as funding was concerned. What's an update?
Well, we're still working really hard on it. We need a little bit to get us to Dover and Texas, but everybody on this team is working hard day and night, blood, sweat, and tears. So we'll get us a good run here. We kind of had bad luck the last 3 races. Good Lord look after us.
This is kind of where it all came together for them last year. We'll see if Timothy Peters can celebrate that anniversary with a victory here tonight.
I think these guys are comfortable, Rick, that they've got plenty of time to get their tires scuffed, get their truck sorted out. They know this weather is perfect for practicing and dialing in their trucks from what they're going to see tonight. You see Ty Bodine, he just ran his fastest lap, his 13th time by. He ran a 30.59, moved him up to the 3rd fastest truck in this practice. So obviously they're taking their time, methodically working through some changes, and that truck's getting better and better. He had a really good truck out of Kansas.
Still a little aggressive, but it's back to just a little push in 3 and 4.
I think he's talking about maybe a little aggressive, meaning a little loose on entry. Maybe it turns in a little quick, gets him loose, and then but yet it wants to push in one end or the other.
Mike, you mentioned weather. Pretty consistent. It's been 68 degrees for the past 2 hours here in the Concord, North Carolina area. The humidity is very high. It was kind of a low ceiling today. Coming in, there was actually some precipitation that was hitting the windshield, but at the same time, the track has been dry. We've been on since 9 o'clock when we were scheduled to go, and it's going to be a consistent racetrack, I think, today with the overcast skies.
Yeah, as Michael said in the very beginning of our show, this is ideal for these teams right here because they get an indication of what it's going to be like tonight when we run this race. I mean, we could very easily be here under Sunday skies with 75-degree temperatures, which will definitely change how it will be tonight.
And then every minute that goes by, the clock's ticking. It's getting sunny, warmer, and the sun's beating down on that track more and more and more. The track's losing the grip that it will have right when you start at 9 o'clock. So that's why this practice session is, the weather is so fortuitous for these guys, because the weather is actually, it's perfect for them to use every minute of this basically 3 hours of practice they have in order to dial in their truck.
Good thing is Ray doesn't have to be a weatherman today, right?
I hope not, Rick, but I'll tell you what's bad news for the rest of the field is the fact that Kyle Busch has old chassis number 11 with him this week. Obviously his favorite. This truck has won 10 times for Billy Blue Motorsports. A very, very good piece, and Kyle says he just loves the body on this truck. But guys, one thing we haven't mentioned so far today is the fact that this is NASCAR Day. And Kyle Busch is one of the guys that is trying to help put some money into that, and he'll do it through his Kyle Busch Foundation. Realize when guys buy stuff from Rowdy.com that they'll make contributions to the Kyle Busch Foundation, and that all helps the NASCAR Foundation and all kinds of different charities. So NASCAR today, lots and lots of drivers down here making big donations to try to help those in the world that are less fortunate.
And the NASCAR Foundation is extremely generous. I mean, it's, I know we use Victory Junction, we say that, it rolls off the tongue as far as the amount of charities that are associated with NASCAR, but there's so many more than just that that charity that the NASCAR Foundation helps out.
Yeah, they spread money all across the community and just do a wonderful job. Last year raised a record amount of cash on this day, and I remember Phil and me and you, we chipped in, called over there, made a donation. So
I think we talked to DW while he was doing his telethon.
We did. We'll have to find out where old DW is today, right, Phil?
Absolutely.
Again, riding along with Ryan Newman in that number 4. He's driving for Kevin Harvick Incorporated.
He's up in the top 10. He's up to 9th spot with that truck.
You know, Pro Motor builds the engines for this truck as well as Ron Hornaday's truck. Obviously, they won last night the Mall Engine Builder competition for the 3rd consecutive year. Darrell Hoffman and Dennis Borum won for the 3rd consecutive year. They built an engine and had it running in less than 20 minutes.
Now, I just can't fathom that.
20 minutes.
They beat some members from Roush Fenway for that championship. Again, 3rd year in a row.
I'd like to see him get that one I blew up last Saturday night back running in 20 minutes.
You know, you did have a little bit of a fiery occurrence.
Yeah, part of the stuff that goes up and down came out, which isn't good.
It's not supposed to. Well, everyone's got their coffee this morning, prepared for a long day. Camping World Truck Series race this evening, and we're preparing for that right now. Make it a weekend of fun with the family and friends at Michigan International Speedway. Sprint Cup tickets start at $40, and kids 12 and under are free. Call 800-354-1010 or log on to www.misspeedway.com for the June 14th LifeLock 400 at Michigan International Speedway. Trucks will be there as well.
Bucker Remax Series on Friday, so we have a big weekend on speed.
It's a good feeling heading up there to Michigan, isn't it? A lot of fans show up for that race.
Going back home for Phil.
Back home. By the way, the Red Wings won last night, Game 7, beat the Anaheim Ducks, and they will go to the Western Conference Finals against Chicago.
So did the Carolina Hurricanes.
They did.
Oh,
They went through Boston, and now they're in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Exactly.
Which you're lucky I know any of that. I just happened to be
listening to the radio on the way here this morning.
I was.
Our New Englander producer just said the Hartford Whalers won.
Yeah.
So
a few years ago they were the Hartford Whalers.
Now the Hurricane.
The Canes.
Riding along
That
with
was
Rick
exciting.
Crawford.
Did you see the finish that in overtime?
Overtime.
I watched the highlights this morning.
He made it right in the basket there at the end.
Right in the basket. Right in the basket. Yeah.
Oh.
They had a guy standing there in that basket, didn't they?
As soon as it went in, they called the game off.
That was it.
It was over.
They decided to be done. Rick coming off the racetrack now. Is this a difficult racetrack to get onto pit road?
Not really. What you have to be cognizant of is how fast you're going, though. These trucks, Phil, they run wide open most of the time, way down into the corner. So when you do that, getting off the gas and on the brakes and getting down to pit road speed, I think you'll see some of these guys practicing that. I saw Gilliland doing it a little bit ago, just seeing how fast you can get to pit road. Because in a green flag pit stop, which we'll probably see one of those tonight. I wouldn't be surprised to go through a green flag stop tonight. You can give up a lot of time getting onto pit road, and they want to make sure they know how to get on or off pit road. You don't agree?
No. We've never had a green flag pit stop.
But I feel like there's going to be one tonight.
You know, you guys were talking earlier about the All-Star race, and the format for the All-Star race tomorrow night really almost mirrors what a Truck Series race is. It's a shorter race. There's segments. We break it into caution segments, but I mean, it's an intense, action-packed race for the fans for the Cup race, and we see it every week with the Truck Series.
Well, we have a 200-mile race here. Right. Next Sunday, Michael and the guys are going to run 600 miles, 3 times as long in that Sprint Cup Coca-Cola 600.
Quite an evening's venture when you take off and
you might want to pack a sandwich.
Yeah, you run about 100 laps and you're thinking, okay, I'm pretty much down the road with this baby. Yeah, you got 300 more. Do that 3 more times, you'll be done. I've been fortunate enough a couple of times. I remember one of my favorite memories as a Sprint Cup driver when I started. I think it was 1990. I'd been racing for a couple years, but I come off turn 4 racing with Bill Elliott and Rusty Wallace coming to the checker flag in the 600, and I thought, darn, I think I can do this. I'm right up with these guys coming to the checker here, and then in 04 we were able to finish second in the Napa car with the DEI. So a couple of chances to win this race, and it's a great feeling, not only to compete for a win in it, but just to survive it, huh, Phil?
Yeah, really. I mean, you're talking about at extreme levels here. Race 4.5 hours, something like that.
Taking a look at the fun sand number 13 of Johnny Sauter. Adam, what have they been talking about in the garage?
Tight has been the operative word when you're listening to the radio for Johnny Sauter and his bunch, but they have really made significant progress since this season started. Jason Overstreet has come over to oversee the operation from a crew chief standpoint. Of course, they ran in the top 10 in Kansas, got a season best 9th place finish, and I think they feel good here tonight. It wouldn't surprise me to see this operation go to victory lane before the season is out. And of course, he's the team truck to Matt Crafton, who got career win #1 here a year ago.
And yesterday I was at Philip O'Berry High School with both Johnny Sauter and Matt Crafton, and they both seem fairly confident coming into this race, and Matt should have confidence because he is the defending race winner from a year ago. Ron Hornaday still winning our first practice here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Tomorrow, NASCAR Race Day amps up the excitement for the NASCAR Sprint All-Star Race. It's our biggest pre-race show of the year. Don't miss Gordon, Busch, Waltrip, and more. They compete in the Pennzoil Victory Challenge Live. It's a must-see NASCAR Race Day built by the Home Depot live tomorrow, 4 Eastern, NASCAR on Speed. You know what? I think Randy Moss is one of the judges for the Burnout.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
got his first win, though, in the Truck Series. Last time out at Kansas.
There's one of Jim Harris's trucks.
Yeah, Terry Cook, CajunUSA.com on board.
Both those trucks. 24 has sponsors from Zachary and then Cajun USA, so it's good to see Jim Harris up and running with some sponsors and really competitive, these trucks this year, Phil.
They really have. Terry Cook is up in the top 10 in points, has had a couple top 5 finishes, had a great truck last week at Kansas. Really looked like he was going to maybe contend for the win, and then got into the wall avoiding Stacy Compton, and that just kind of put the beginning of the end of his day. Then he cut down a couple tires, but that truck has been very fast. Terry and Danny Rollins have been on it.
Already in this practice session, Terry 22nd quick. Probably one of those guys that was scuffing tires early.
we talked about this weather being an idea for a long practice session. The track will remain consistent. Ron Hornaday ran the fastest lap on his 5th lap the first time out, and he's remained there, but every other position in the top 5 has changed. Ryan Newman, his last time out, went up to the 3rd spot. So you can certainly right now run the fastest lap of the session if you get your truck right. But darn, Hornaday's got him by a couple of tenths, so that's a really, really fast truck.
Kyle Busch has moved into the top 10. He was somewhere around 13th, 15th. His last time out, he jumped up to the top 10 with a 30.74. And again, that's a half a second slower than what Hornaday did. But Hornaday did that quite early on. It was early in the practice, even though it was on his 5th lap.
You know, we're starting to see a few shadows, so the sun is peeking through the clouds just a little bit. Let's go back to the garage and Ray.
Well, guys, Ron Hornaday on the radio telling Rick Wren that this is the very best truck that he's ever had at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Says it really rolls through the corner nice, and he's got a lot of steering control. Very, very happy with that Longhorn Chevrolet right now. Now, they just came off of the racetrack, and they made an air pressure adjustment in the left rear. But I've never seen this before, guys. The NASCAR officials told them you cannot make adjustments out on pit road and go back to the racetrack. You have to come into the garage area to make your change. They come in, just change the air pressure, and Hornaday straight back out to the racetrack. Adam?
And Brian Scott, a guy who's been impressive in the early going today. And it's interesting to know they have run really good at mile-and-a-half racetracks dating back to last year. 2nd at Homestead. They were 3rd a couple of weeks ago at Kansas. So conventional wisdom says they would bring the same truck here to the home track, Lowe's Motor Speedway. That not the case. I give Jeff Hensley the Gutsy Move of the Weekend award. A brand new truck that had never seen a lap on track till this morning, and I guess it's paid off, guys. Scott is solid. The only thing he's fighting a little tightness down in 3 and 4.
Up into the top 5 for Brian Scott in this first practice session of the day. Again, we have our final practice that will come up after this. We go to about noon, and then it's the Sprint Cup Series that we'll take to the racetrack. Stay with us. Final moments of the first practice for the North Carolina Education Lottery 200. Winding down from Lowe's Motor Speedway. Clouds breaking up a bit now as the sun was peeking through and beating down on the racetrack. Still looks a little ominous back to our west.
You know, we've seen a lot of trucks on the track during this whole practice field because of the consistency in the track. That sun comes through. I don't know if the next practice will have as many trucks participating in it.
Yeah, I think the guys that are struggling maybe right now would be out trying to work on their trucks, but I don't think we're going to be able to duplicate the conditions that we've had for this first practice that will be so much like they will be tonight.
Again, the race kicks off a little after 8 o'clock. We've got the setup with Chris Devoda at 7:30. Let's go back to the garage and Ray Dunlap.
Just wanted to give you an update on Ryan Newman real quick. He's another one of the guys out there scuffing tires right now. But guys, I don't know if you've been paying attention. Newman has slowly worked his way up the running order there near the top of the charts. And guess what? Hornaday, Newman, and Skinner, those 3 guys at the top of the list. And later this afternoon, we'll have qualifying live for you here on Speed around 3:30. And boy, what a show that'll be to see Ryan Newman and Skinner duke it out here to go for the run for the pole this afternoon right here at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Obviously don't want to count out Ron Hornaday.
Mike
for
Skinner
that pole run.
is our track record holder. This is the guy right here that had the pole last year. Kyle Busch at a 30.160 was the pole last year, and already Hornaday's been within a tenth of a second of that time.
Yeah, and then Kyle's run quite a few laps in a row here. I've watched him run 6-8 laps, so he must like what his truck feels like, and now he's just making sure it's going to feel that way lap after lap. You don't usually see guys run as many laps in a row as Kyle has if they don't like their truck. They think it's pretty close. He's just trying to figure out what he needs to tell that team to be able to fine-tune it.
What a big year already for Mikasuki, the sponsor on the 51 here. I mean, getting the win with Brad Keselowski at Talladega earlier this year, a huge moment. Especially really, for James Finch.
Absolutely. James Finch has put his heart and soul in this sport, and for him, I know that he has made a statement he would trade all the probably the hundreds of short track wins that he's got over the years for one Cup win. And I heard he made the statement the other day that after he got that win at Talladega, he said after having that, he said, I would still give it all up for this one win. It was a big moment. Awfully glad for James Finch.
Let's go back to the garage and Adam Alexander.
And one thing we'll keep our eye on as the afternoon continues is the weather. Of course, you guys talking about how well these conditions would be to simulate what we'll see in the race tonight. We're starting to see some blue sky and sunshine. And guys, that wouldn't be good as far as getting ready for the race tonight. We'll see what the weather does as the afternoon continues.
So again, the first practice concludes. Ron Hornaday was the quickest. Skinner, Newman, Todd Bodine, and Brian Scott rounded out your top 5. Let's head to the speed stage where Steve Burns and the boys are going to take us for 20 minutes.